Wind down, try to gather my thoughts and have this conversation. I was thinking, I've done I think 800 plus episodes, around 800 episodes, I think that's where we're at. I don't keep track of my podcast. And I was thinking, how do I keep it fresh and interesting? And to be honest with you, that's not my focus. It's way too much pressure. Instead, I ask myself, how do I keep it honest? John, just keep things honest. It's not up to me if something is, it's none of my business if something is interesting or fresh or what is it called, trending. Uh, it is important to me that I pull from truth and honesty. So I force myself to do these episodes because this environment, meaning no one's at home, daughter's asleep, it's very quiet, and I have a little bit of fancy bourbon on the rocks. I rarely drink, but I'll have like a little beverage once in a while. It's the soil for an honest conversation. And so tonight, I want to talk about breakups and what I've learned in all of my relationships. So before I start, I'll give you just broad strokes of my relationships. I've been in mostly relationships my entire life. Hopeless romantic. I love love. I still love love. I've always loved love. Um, and I know that love can also be unhealthy. I've experienced that as well. But I think partly because I am at the end of the day an introvert. I love the idea of loving someone and staying in. I mean, not just staying in, but like I love the idea of ditching school, staying under the covers. I love the idea of love notes and eye contact and all that lovey-dovey shit that most anxiously attached people love. Um, I've always been that way. So I've been in many relationships in my life. All right. So first relationship was early 20s. It was for 3 years. And this relationship was actually, it was very peaceful. It was very organic, wasn't toxic. Most people who experience young love in their early 20s, it is toxic. Um, but this relationship was really, man, it was really nice. It was like a plane cruising down the runway before takeoff. Um, it was very smooth. So I met her when I was a server at Islands. And by the way, if you're a parent, I think every child growing up needs to be in the service business at least once, just once. I think you need to know what it feels like to earn $1, to be on your feet for 8 hours and walk home with $40. I think it's important to know. Um, Serving is so humbling, right? I just think it's important to be on that side and know what it takes to make a buck, to do side work, to marry catch up, to work for gratuity, to work for tips. It really is humbling. Anyway, so I was a server at Islands. We wore these little tiny shorts, these little stubby shorts. And the reason why I got a job there in my early 20s was because, so if you don't know, Islands is kind of like it's a tropical, like Hawaiian themed restaurant. It's like a TGIF Fridays, but if it was like Hawaii, so you're wearing Hawaiian shirts, And I was part of the opening team, or I was the first person besides the opening team to get hired at the Islands in Glendale. And I think I was out of college, like 20 something, early 20s. And the manager was a pervert. And so the manager only hired attractive people. The manager only hired like hot girls. and he had Polaroids of all the people that submitted their applications, which I think is illegal, and judged them on their looks. But for a 22-year-old boy, that was all he needed to apply. So me and my friend applied there, and we got in. And work was amazing because every time you went to work, it was just like you're going to a party with with a lot of beautiful people in skimpy short shorts and Hawaiian shirts. There, I met a friend, and we were just friends. We went to Magic Mountain, I think it was, and she was very flirtatious. I could tell she might be interested, and I just leaned into it, and it turned into a 3-year relationship. And what's kind of funny about the story is, well, two things. One thing that comes to my mind is, so when you're Korean, you live at home, right? You live at home. Hey, by the way, I forgot to say that this episode is going to be more of in a wine glass and a shot glass. Might be a little long. Just warning. Um, Long but intimate. I want this to be intimate. I want it to feel intimate, which is why I do these once in a while. But Korean kids usually live at home until they get married. So my brother and I shared a room, and it wasn't a big room. It was just a normal, small room. 2 beds in that room. We were in our 20s. We both had girlfriends, and we had 2 dogs. So in this one room, we had we this is the first girlfriend that slept over. And I don't know if my parents cared or not. I guess by this time they were just, they're just being American, let them do what they want. And so my brother and his girlfriend slept in his bed. Me and my girlfriend slept in my bed with 2 dogs, and this was all in one room. So over the weekend, there was like 4 of us and 2 dogs in this room. Now, obviously, no one's fooling around, but that's what I remember from this relationship. The other kind of amusing thing is, so I come across her, I meet her at an Al-Anon meeting when I was trained to become a therapist, and she was at the Al-Anon meeting for herself, attending, and I was getting hours. And when you're trying to become a licensed therapist, you have to do a certain amount of hours in all the 12-step meetings. And so I was attending a ton of them, and I ran into her, and so we catch up, have some coffee afterwards at a diner, and she says, "Hey, I have a confession." And listen, I haven't seen her in like 20 years, right? She says, when we're together, I cheated on you. And because there's been so much distance, and because this is someone that was, an amazing, just a wonderful person, and our relationship was just like innocent, and there was a preciousness to our relationship, because it was kind of our first relationship for both of us. We just laughed about it. I just thought it was funny. And then, of course, I had a confession, which this confession I'm nervous to say, but I have said it, I think, on my other podcast with Sean. We Can Do Better. So I might as well disclose it now here. So I confess to her also that I cheated on her, and my cheating wasn't. She cheated on me by being at a concert and I think randomly kissing some guy. And then she told me that she had a problem with younger dudes. She was attracted to younger dudes, and I think we both knew where it came from. It came from her finding her cape in fixing, helping, taking care of other people. And I think she found that in younger dudes, which is probably why she was attending Al-Anon meetings, something she wanted to explore, kind of correct or heal from. For me, I cheated on her because I thought we were going to get married. And at this time, I was a late bloomer, didn't have a lot of sex in my life. And so I wanted to kind of sow my oats. So I hired masseuses. I hired a few, and I just wanted other experiences, sexual experiences. So I told myself that if I gave myself that, then I would never cheat on her. So it's like I mean, look, I was in my early 20s, but it's like by cheating on her, I'm not going to cheat on her when I'm married. That was my mindset. I believed it, and so remember, I was thinking, I'm going to do this for her. I'm doing this for us. Um, anyway, so we kind of laughed about the whole thing. What I learned from that relationship, because I didn't learn much other than, man, I see that relationship because it was so innocent. No one was throwing chairs. It wasn't crazy. No one was just, two young kids exploring love. And um, it was very comfortable. So I don't know exactly the takeaways from that relationship. A lot of fun memories. But then my next relationship, that was the big one. Again, met her at a restaurant, except it was our restaurant bar, family business. And this one was different because although it started off as friends, when she walked in the door, I had that whole lightning in the bottle experience. I saw angels, and I said to myself, I'm going to marry this person. So we were friends for a while, and then we started dating, and then we got married and we were married for 5 years. Um, and this was kind of the big relationship. I got divorced at 35. The biggest takeaway, of course, there's many, right? But the biggest takeaway for me is when I was in that relationship, I didn't know anything. This is before I became a therapist. It was just a struggling screenwriter in Hollywood. She was an actress, and she was kind of blowing up. My life revolved around her, and I thought what it meant to be a good husband was just to focus on your partner and the marriage. Everything else is extra. So I never invested in friendships, hobbies, traveling. I was just like very death of a salesman, you know, up in the morning with my little laptop, go to Starbucks or a coffee shop, write for 8 to 10 hours, be fucking miserable, come home, and I didn't have a life. So one of my big revelations was that once I got divorced, it was almost like die marker, where it was very telling that I didn't have a life because the marriage slash her, she was my life. And so once she left, the bottom fell out. But the good thing about having nothing is you have nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to prove. So I kind of got lucky in a way where at 35, I just started completely over. And the first question I asked myself was, what would it feel like now, since you know nobody, and including yourself? Um, what would it look like to start pulling from your truth? What would it look like to not exchange your truth for membership? What would it look like to start living inside out instead of outside in? How can you start being in your solid self instead of pseudo? And that was my mantra, and that was my promise to self. And and even still today, it's something I ask myself often. It's how I find alignment, right? Another thing I learned in that relationship, that breakup, that was a divorce, was then I thought everything was okay because she struggled expressing herself. And I thought if someone doesn't express where they're at, how they feel, and of course my radar was dull. There were moments that she said that she was unhappy. I didn't listen. Um, but because she grew up where her feelings, she was never heard, her feelings weren't held. She had a hard time expressing herself, right? And so I assumed nothing was wrong. The revelation is that because of our stories and our wiring and our trauma, not everyone has the ability to express themselves. And there are people in relationships who are unhappy. There are people who are miserable. There are people who have resentment and anger, and they hold it in, you know. And part of them holding it in, I thought before that it was an evil thing to do, but I don't think it's evil now. The revelation is that it's wiring, that a lot of people hold stuff in because they don't know how, they don't have the ability, they don't have the capacity to express, right? I was the other way where I steamrolled people. I took people hostages. I overexpressed, But that was a 5 year. We dated for another five. It's like a 10 years. That was like 10 years of my life. And then, of course, single, and I had long stretches of singlehood. This is when I was quote unquote single on purpose. And you listen, I I was single on purpose in the sense that I was trying to connect to me, but I didn't want to be single. Just no one liked me. I didn't get much action, and so I spent a lot of time on my motorcycle. Spent a lot of time sitting in diners by myself, taking long walks with my little styrofoam coffee because I was broke. Wayne Dyer in my ear. Uh, this is back in the day when there were coaching even was a thing. I think the only coach was Tony Robbins. So just listening to old school shit like Alan Watts and just old stuff on I think YouTube or audio and just blogging. And then the next relationship, of course, I went on a few dates and stuff, but nothing serious. And then the next relationship was start off long distance. Then she moved to LA. And that was another 3 year relationship. And as I think about this one, and this relationship was very. I mean, I don't think she would say this. I don't know what her experience was like, but for me, it was very sweet, kind relationship. I mean, she was really. I don't know how to say this. I don't know if it's wrong to say someone was good to you. I don't mean it in any kind of um, what am I trying to say? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but she was really good to me, and I think I took her for granted. And the corrective experience, and I think one of the things I really needed at the time, which she gave me. I think a lot of times we get into relationships, and if the relationship doesn't work out, um, there is still something that we got from the relationship. You know, like I have a lot of clients who, mostly female, got into a relationship after being in a toxic relationship, and she got into this relationship because it just was safe. Like that's it. And so she needed safety. She needed a safe tree. She needed to give her body the experience that love wasn't dangerous. The stove was not hot. And so she goes for the safe guy. And then, of course, it doesn't last because safety, although foundational, um, is only one piston, right? You need other pistons pumping for the engine to move forward, for the relationship to have wings, like chemistry and alignment and all that, values, etc. And just safety alone isn't enough. But I have a lot of clients who just find safety because that's what they want, and then of course after a while they get bored or the chemistry isn't there, and so they end the relationship. I think for me with this one, um, I think I was thirsty for someone to desire me. I think I was thirsty for attention. Um, and she gave me a lot of attention. And she gave me a lot of compliments. And, I believe I was her type. I think she was attracted to Asian guys. She was attracted to Asian guys and redheads, which is kind of hilarious. Those were the only type of guys she was attracted to. And so I felt very desired. And um, yeah, she was really, really good to me. I took her for granted. Um, in looking back, I wasn't kind to her. I mean, I was kind to her as far as like, I feel like I was kind to her. I was just me. But there are, I think, a lot of moments and a lot of undertone that that spelled me not being careful with her. And a lot of that was because of something that she called out. I was a miserable fuck. She didn't say that. She said that I don't think you're happy. And I remember arguing with her, saying that, what are you talking about? I am happy. I make jokes. But she was right. I was not happy at that time in my life. I was just building, living, in my head. But what I learned from that relationship, it's a little abstract, but what I learned from that relationship, and it's something I'm still working on. And I didn't know this when I was in it, but now with distance looking back, I wasn't like a shitty person. I wasn't obviously rude or toxic in that way, but I always was a Debbie the Downer. I wasn't responsible with my own depression, unhappiness with life. And I feel like I didn't try to lift us up. I didn't think twice before entering the room and being happy and positive and not allowing my failures or unhappiness impact the relationship. And I feel like I still struggle with that today, and I don't feel that I'm an unhappy guy. I'm actually the happiest I've ever been in my life. But I still have that tug of being miserable, being stressed out, not being present, having that resting bitch face and angry, if you will. And I think I carry that into my relationships. It's something I got to be aware of, because when it's irresponsible to not be aware until it's over, and then you're looking back and you're like, shit, I could have been different. It wasn't fair to the other person. So that's one big thing I learned from that relationship. The other thing is, I think it was fair for me to want to feel desired. I think it's fair for everyone to want that. And I needed for someone to make me feel desired, because I needed that in my life at that time. And the revelation is that that's okay, and that maybe is foundational. We don't just want safety. We want to feel seen, championed, supported, desired, right? Heard, understood. Anyway, that was a 3-year relationship. I ended it abruptly. I ended it, my new book, Breakup On Purpose. I talk about the blindsided breakup, and I blindsided her. I feel really shitty about it. I was selfish. By the way, I believe all my exes, except my very first relationship, because there was no hard feelings. We sat afterwards, and it was, all love. But I think everyone else, and I think even people that I've dated for like 6 months or so, I don't think anyone um, likes me anymore. I think all my exes hate me, or that's the feeling I get, or if not, if they don't hate me, they definitely um, have some feelings toward me. And so one of the things I think about often is, well, what's the common denominator? And it's me. And so I wonder if I wasn't as I imagined in these relationships. Meaning, I wonder if I was worse, But I feel it. I feel in my body that all my exes have a lot of anger toward me. It's hard to carry that. It's hard to, because you as you get, especially as you get older, um, you don't want people to hate you in this world. Especially people you shared a bed and a life with. So that was 3 years, and then the next one was another 3 years, and Um, again, man, I mean, the amazing relationship, and I don't know. 3 years is that? Yeah, I feel like 3 years is that mark, that make or break mark. You know, I don't think it's just me. I think relationships go into stages. Of course, there's a honeymoon stage, and then there's kind of that stage where people become real, not the cardboard cutouts, right? You're no longer looking at a poster, but you're looking at a real person with um, their own story and defects and whatever, right? Activation. I wouldn't say defects. I don't like that word defects. I got to stop using like defects and issues. I don't like those words. But there's a story, and there's activation, and there's um, everything that makes a relationship difficult, right? So there's that stage, and then there's um, hopefully a stage where you kind of swim past the breakers, and there's calm, and there's trust built, and there's an earning, and people realizing that they really worked hard on this relationship. And I think around 3 years is kind of where you decide, I'm in this or I'm out. You know, if you have kids, it's a lot more complicated, of course. But again, 3 years, and again, I ended it, and again, it's totally my fault. I was selfish. I blindsided her. We were in Colorado at a bar. No, not Colorado. Where were we? Oh, we were in Utah, Park City, Utah, in a bar, and we had that moment where we just kind of looked at each other, and it just felt like flat soda. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to say anything. We just knew that our relationship has fizzled, and we need to work on some things. We had this knowing. We exchanged some words, like, yeah, and then that was it. And then from there, instead of working on the relationship, I was suddenly moving out, and I used the excuse that she didn't stop me uh, to leave. And so because she didn't stop me, I thought that was the okay thing to do. It validated my decision to move out instead of working on the relationship. And I think I mean, definitely activated her. She had a lot of trauma in her life, so she started spiraling. And at that point, I had kissed someone. So the relationship was technically over, but it was only like 3 weeks. And I was on the beach with a friend. Um, and she was in a weird place, and I was in a weird place. I blamed it on the moon. Um, again, I think I needed to feel something. I needed to feel desire. And I kissed her, and then we started dating for 6 months. That was very, um, that was chaotic in a way, partly because I wasn't ready to date anyone. And I also don't think it was fair to her because I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Um, and this is also a revelation I think many can understand or even relate to, is if you don't give yourself and your ex a courtesy period, which I think everyone deserves, even if the relationship went down in a bad way, it's just courtesy, you know. Give the relationship a few months. Don't jump into something new. It's it's also like so obvious that you're running or numbing or hiding, unless you've been laying tracks and been emotionally cheating on your partner. But I was 3 weeks out of a relationship and jumped into something new. My ex thought had been cheating on her the entire time, and that I left her for this new person because it was so early. It was only 3 weeks, which is totally understandable, and that's fair why she thought that. I didn't, but it was still way too soon. I think we need to, after every relationship, take a beat in Single on Purpose, I talk about growth soil. I also talk about it in Breakup On Purpose, and how that growth soil can calcify if you're just going from one lily pad to another lily pad and just, loving someone or finding someone desperately after an expiration. So I did that, hurt her, and was selfish. But the new person I was dating, that didn't work out. So then I ended that. I had my first panic attack. That was interesting. A lot of inner conflict and uneasiness, and my body telling me that I needed to be alone, not listening to my body. So I had a panic attack. First panic attack I've ever had in my life. It was fucking terrifying. Uh, it literally felt like I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone threw me in a coffin. Anyway, then after that, some dating here and there. Then after that, because now I'm in my 40s, I wanted to really be single, because I've only been in relationships, so I wanted to um, just have all these experiences that I never had when I was single, because I was in marriage or in long-term relationships, and I didn't get that far. I wanted some debauchery. I wanted to wake up with someone I didn't like. I wanted to do some MDMA with someone, because I've heard some stories about that, and nothing, not much happened. I had one or two experiences, and then I met Vanessa, and Vanessa, that kind of came out of the sky, because I wasn't looking for another relationship, and I met her because someone set us up on a blind date. We have a whole book we wrote about our exchange, and that was 7 years. That was 7 years ago. So Vanessa to me has been my corrective love experience in so many ways, and early days, it wasn't all smooth sailing, as we disclosed in our book. And we have different attachment styles. We have different love languages. I think in the beginning she didn't feel chosen because I wasn't sure, and part of me not being sure was thinking, well, one, I wanted to be. I wanted debauchery. I didn't want to. I knew that if I got into a relationship, that would be a long one, or maybe the only one. Like that was gonna be it. As I was getting older now, in my 40s, and so I was like, man, there's still things I want to do, and so because of that, there was a lot of ambivalence in the beginning, which was unfair to her. So we had a little rocky beginning, um, and then we moved in, and things got real, and of course, there's more activation and more things to work through and trauma, on both sides. And one of the things I've learned about love was from Vanessa, and we talk about this idea of swimming past the breakers, and that on the other side of the activation, and on the other side of differences, on the other side of incongruence, there's calm, and there's trust, and there's glue. But to get there, you have to explore patterns, wounds. You have to communicate. You have to get into couples therapy. I mean, I don't know how else to do it. I mean, you should also be in your own therapy, but to sit in a room with a therapist, a referee, a neutral party, and to start talking about some real shit, and people are going to be defensive, and you work through that. We're going to be activated, and you work through that. And then it's like learning how to fight. I think Vanessa's the first relationship that I've had where I actually learned how to fight, to learn how to repair ruptures, which of course no one teaches us. But when you do that, that's the game changer. So I think that's what gets you to swim past the breakers, because I don't know if you can swim past the breakers if you don't know how to fight in a healthy way. You know, to get to the calm, you have to have the ability to repair ruptures. And then what the calm gives you and your body is a corrective experience. And then you are now telling your body that there's safety and love can be like this. You're giving your body the experience of people not leaving and people communicating, people being heard, seen, understood. And for most of us, because we have had unsafe childhoods or have been in toxic relationships, or very reactive ones, it's a very strange feeling. And I think it's giving ourselves that feeling over and over again, where we start to believe, oh, this is what love is like. This is how we start to heal from things. And then we start building something that we trust that becomes bigger than its parts. And all of this I've learned in the last 7 years with Vanessa. And I got to say, I mean, I think a lot of it is, she's also a therapist, so she has training as well as I. So I feel like we don't want to be hypocrites. So we do try to process stuff, and I think we can talk about anything. That's not the case with a lot of people. A lot of couples, one person's down to process and look at things, and the other person is defensive or doesn't want to believe in it. So that can be a problem. And you can't swim past the breakers. You can't have a corrective love experience by yourself. You know, only 50% of the relationship. So, broad strokes, those were some of my big takeaways. Some of my revelations from relationships. And I hope you pick up my book. It's called Breakup On Purpose. And I kind of go through what I went through now, but I also go through a lot of client stories. And the hook of the book is that there isn't just one type of breakup. A lot of people use the word breakup in like a blanket statement, but I walk you through 8 different types of breakups, like the flat soda breakup, or the soap opera Telemundo, I need to get a restraining order breakup, the blindsided breakup, the almost relationship breakup, which I think many people minimize, and what else? Divorce, that's in there as well. Anyway, it's in Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's wide. Target picked it up. It's going to be in Target. So grateful for that. And let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening. Be well.